Hey, this is Jonathan Potoshnik. I got the question. I've read a lot of books on selling and closing business, and I have a successful business. But I'm wondering if you have any unique strategies for selling more work that maybe I've not thought about or heard of. And so I've got a couple, but there are plenty of really great books out there on how to build a business and in terms of selling more business and how to sell and how to close work and how to sell based on education and stuff. So let me just give you a couple quick ones. Really, I think selling's overrated. This is kind of how I look at it. I think that selling's made out to be harder than it is. So we'll have employees at the company say, "Oh, I don't like selling. I hate selling. I never want to sell." But the fact of the matter is that everybody sells. Everybody in the organization is selling at some level. They're, it's the degree to which they're selling is different, but everybody's selling. Everybody's representing our company. Everybody's either moving us forward in the eyes of the client or they're making us look bad. So you can either your employees are upselling you, they're representing you well, they're all selling. So anybody that says I hate selling is really missing the boat. The way I like to look at selling is no, first let me say this. And this is the way I like to look at selling. Nobody comes to you and says, "I want to talk to a salesman and I want to be sold." Nobody. So I'm sure you've read this, but nobody wants to be sold, and they don't want a sales pitch. They don't want a hard close. They don't want any of the sales techniques on them used on them. What they're looking for is they're looking to come to somebody that is an industry expert that understands their pain, understands their problem, understands their fears, understands exactly what it is they want to accomplish, and they want you to be their advisor. They want a consultant. They want to come to you and say, "I've got this problem. How do I fix it? Tell me exactly how do I fix it now and fast and for the best value." That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for anything more than an advisor. And that's why I love educational based selling. I love being the advisor, the consultant. I like teaching. I don't feel like when we're closing business at our companies that we're selling. We have a conversation and we're willing to spend time with our prospects and we're willing to educate them and make them a smarter buyer and a smarter consumer. We're willing to teach them things. We're willing to invest in that prospect because when they trust us to be their advisor and their consultant, they will trust us enough to buy from us. And so when we close business on the phone or we close business in person, I never feel like I'm selling. I never feel like I'm using some sales technique. I'm simply answering their questions, I'm simply advising them, and I'm simply directing them in the direction that's the very best solution for them. I don't sell anything I don't believe in. I don't do anything I don't believe in. I'm not going to push them towards anything just to make an extra buck if they don't need it. That goes completely against everything I believe in, so I don't do that. That that's what some of the old traditional pushy salespeople gain their bad reputation for, is selling junk that nobody needs and being dishonest. That's not selling. So we don't do any of that. No, if anybody in our company does that, I don't want them to be part of our company. We want to sell what somebody really needs, and we want to guide that client to make an educated decision that's good for them. Now, sometimes that means the client needs to spend more money than they were prepared to spend. Sometimes that means the client needs to do more to have a service perform more frequently than they expected. That doesn't mean we're selling something they don't need or because they were misinformed and misunderstood. We educated them and we said, if you want to achieve this outcome, this is reality, this is what it takes. You either want it or you don't. Here's what it's going to cost. Maybe they were wrong and they didn't expect to spend that amount of money, but that doesn't mean that I should lower what I'm going to do in terms of my standards and lower the price or lower the service level simply to accommodate their misunderstanding. So that's not a bad salesman. That's not pushy. That's education. I've educated them. Now they understand the facts. Now they can make a decision on what's best. So education selling, that's one that I think you've probably heard about, but I think that's critical, and I think you should educate your team that selling isn't selling as they understand it. Selling is consulting and advising and teaching and helping and putting yourself in the perspective of the client. Now, that does not mean putting yourself in the perspective of the client saying, "Wow, I would never spend, $300 to have this done at my property or $1,000 to have my trees trimmed." Wow, you got to get that out of your staff's head. You got to get that out of your head. You can't be putting yourself in perspective and saying, well, right now in my life, I'm only making 40 grand a year, so I could never justify spending 1,000 to have my trees trimmed, when you're selling to some guy that's making 100 grand a year and 1,000's nothing. So don't be putting yourself in the perspective of others and thinking because you think something's expensive or because you think you wouldn't do it that they shouldn't. Simply, if they ask for how do I accomplish X, how do I get this certain outcome, you tell them honestly how they get it. And if it's expensive and it's more than you would spend, fine. But that's what they're looking for. They're at a different place in life than you are, or a different place in life than maybe your employees are at that are making far less than your clients are making. The next thing that I think is critically important is just some off-the-cuff stuff. I think your personal fitness is critical. I think that, so there's a lot of studies that prove that people that box are far more confident than people that don't box. And so I'm using one specific example. I've actually learned this from my wife, and she boxes and teaches people how to box as a workout. And the confidence level gained by things, physical activities, being in shape, being fit, feeling good about yourself, eating properly, that confidence radiates. You will close more business if you're confident. If you're not confident in yourself, you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't feel good about the choices you're personally making, if you don't feel good about how you look, that all affects performance. Why do you think it is that most of the politicians and presidents and affluent business owners are in shape? Look around, start paying attention to those people. They're in shape. They're in shape because it's the people that are confident tend to rise to the top. Confidence just gives off something, and people are attracted to confident people. Put yourself in a situation where you can be confident, where you feel good about yourself, where you radiate something, a level of confidence people will buy from you.